Hello, this is Pamela Smythe, Media Relations Manager at the University of Waterloo. I'm one of the hosts of Beyond the Bulletin, the podcast of internal communications at the university. We bring you news and views from the U Waterloo community. Please spread the word that we're on SoundCloud.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And now the interview from episode 119 of Beyond the Bulletin. Among other strengths, it takes tremendous skill, dedication, and the ability to perform under immense pressure to be a world-class athlete. Now imagine being a student in your first year of university competing in your first ever Olympics. Well, Madeline Schizas, a first-year student in the Faculty of Environment, can relate. She represented Canada in figure skating at the Beijing 2022 Winter Olympics. In addition to focusing on her routines and thinking about school, if you recall, a media circus erupted there when a Russian skater tested positive for a banned substance at the Games. Now, as Maddie looks to compete in the World Figure Skating Championships March 21st to 27th, Russian athletes are out. She spoke with me about her first ever Olympics, about balancing skating and her studies, and ways she keeps focused with so much going on. Maddie, it's so great to have you here on the podcast.
Thanks so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, this is very exciting. You're just back from the Olympics. How was your first Olympics?
I'm happy to be home. It was a long time away. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was so great to be, a part of the Canadian team in Beijing, and I'm just still soaking it all in. I'm going to the World Championships, so that's kind of the current focus.
Is that what it's like for somebody at your level in sports, is you don't really focus on what happened? You have to keep looking forward?
I think that's what we're trained to do a little bit. It was a lot of fun for sure, but I think winter sports athletes as a whole, we're mostly going to events in the next 2-3 weeks. So we're all just kind of looking forward and getting ready for the next thing.
You actually look forward to winter?
I don't. I absolutely do not like the cold at all. Fun fact.
Good thing that the rinks are all inside then.
It is a good thing the rinks are inside. I could not have been like a skier or something.
I'm totally dating myself here, but when I was little, my figure skating icon was Dorothy Hamill. And I mean, I had the haircut, she had a shampoo brand, I had all that, and I had a rink in my backyard. And so I would pretend to be Dorothy Hamill. So is that something that you did as well? Not about Dorothy Hamill, but is that something you did? You sort of emulated a figure skater when you were a kid?
Yeah, I had lots of figure skaters who I looked up to for sure. I was at the 2010 Olympics, and so I saw Joni Rochette there. So that was a pretty cool experience for me. Of course, I've had a lot of inspirations and role models along the way.
Like who? Who are your role models along the way?
I really looked up to Joni Rochette because I saw her at those games, and I just really admired the resilience she showed.
Yeah.
Since then, Caitlin Osmond was obviously the next kind of big Canadian star. I was a little bit older then, so I think a little bit more aware of the whole, just what it took to get there. So those were my two big idols along the way, I think. There's lots of skaters I admired and whose skating style I really admired, but those are my two big Canadian icons and the ones who really inspired me to get to this level.
So, and Joni, she was at the Olympics and when her mother passed away suddenly.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot for her to deal with. So she was a real hero to a lot of people.
I was really young, but I think even then I was able to, understand the gravity of the situation and just the amount of strength it took to show up and skate at those games for her. And so that was a really, it's something that'll just stick with me forever.
How old were you when you started skating? Were you you learned to walk and then put on skates that day or what? It seems like you've been skating a long time and you're 19.
Yeah. I was kind of just getting started in figure skating when I saw those Olympics. I was 6. So I was just getting started in figure skating. I think I had done my first competition a few weeks beforehand. So that was kind of the start.
And when did the dream of being an Olympic figure skater enter your mind? When did you say, oh, I want to go to the Olympics?
I didn't really focus on the Olympics until I was almost there. I qualified a spot for Canada at the 2021 World, so last March. And that was kind of when I said to myself that I could probably do it because I qualified the spot in the first place. So that's kind of when that was became the big goal. I mean, obviously you always want to go to the Olympics. It's kind of like a pipe dream, but it was really a realistic one for me after I went to Worlds in 2021. I think everybody says it in their head, but I just never thought it was all that realistic.
Well, you did it. In fact, you were Canada's only competitor in women's single skating. You had the skate of your life. A personal best during your first Olympic outing on the ice, which was the women's short program of the team event. So, congratulations. What went through your mind when you saw that score and realized how well you had done?
I was pretty excited. There was a lot of pressure on that skate because I was the last person to go in that section of the team event. I went into the Olympics knowing pretty well that the team event was going to be the more important one of the two for me because, Canada was in contention for a medal there. Everyone kept telling me that it's not my job to bring everyone to the free skate and whatever. And but that it's at that point it was on me. So there was a lot of pressure, but I think I did a good job managing it. It was pretty cool for me that it was a team event, it was kind of more of a team sport, that everyone there was there to support me. And I found that pretty cool and very motivating. I really enjoyed that part of it. And I just really felt the support of my teammates. And I think that that helps me skate well when I needed to.
What did that support look like from your teammates?
And they were all there. They gave us a little box at the side of the boards. And so my whole team showed up to support me in that short program. And I knew that no matter what happened, they were going to be, happy for me. And nobody was going to, nobody really expected me to, carry the whole team or whatever. I just really wanted to qualify to the free skate for everybody. I think we all wanted to skate a free. So that was my main goal. But it was so nice to hear them cheering and know that I was going to get off the ice and get my marks and be supported by the rest of the Canadian team.
So that you felt support. You didn't feel pressure like, we want to get a medal and we're watching you and help us get there, Maddie.
No, 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 no. No one on our team, not the other athletes, not our support team. No one was really pressuring me for that.
Wonderful.
I wanted to do it for myself and for everybody. I think I kind of put that pressure on myself to skate well in that moment, but obviously it doesn't really matter if it's, the Olympic Games or, a summer competition, because you always want to skate your best, and it was no different there.
You were singled out as a bright spot in that competition, and your score, in fact, helped Team Canada move up to fourth place. So well done you with all that pressure. How do you deal with that pressure?
I think it's one of my strengths as an athlete is just being able to keep a cool head under pressure. I think I'm good at distracting myself and good at just staying in the moment and focusing on what I need to do instead of what others are going to do. I think that's where some people struggle. It's never easy to get out onto the ice and try and, perform your best under that kind of pressure. You just have to kind of put it out of your mind and focus on the task at hand.
Is it something that you do an exercise where you banish any kind of thoughts that creep in, or is it something that just comes naturally to you?
There are exercises that people try and whatever. I think I'm just pretty good at once I get out onto the ice and the music starts, at just focusing, on one element at a time, one step at a time. I get a little bit nervous before I skate, but once I get out onto the ice, I find it pretty easy just to focus in and to really enjoy the moment.
Because in addition to being your first Olympics and being an athlete who's out there on the ice by herself with all of
Mhm.
these eyeballs around the world watching and your teammates watching, cheering you on or not, people are watching you. And then, there's also other things going on behind the scenes. There was a whole lot going on behind the scenes at that particular event, actually. But can you tell me a little bit about some of the techniques that you do? Do you meditate? Is there mindfulness? Is there a certain song you like to listen to?
People laugh because I'm not very methodical about it. I've always been just like a jump right in kind of person. I like to talk to people before I skate. That's kind of unusual, I think. Most people don't. I like to talk to people. Sometimes I listen to podcasts. My biggest thing is probably just talking to people, having conversations, because I find it helps keep my mind off, the competition and the scores of the people that came ahead of me and all of the outside things. Some people have a real method to the madness, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really. I think some people like to be really in the zone, but in some ways I find that more distracting when everything is on this one moment. Like I kind of like to take in the whole experience, and to each their own. No disrespect to people who want to be in the zone and don't want to do interviews and everything, but I'm always happy to. I don't find it distracting at all, honestly.
Well, on top of being a top athlete on the world stage, you are also a university student, of course. That's why we're speaking. You are a
Yes.
first year planning student in the Faculty of
Hmm.
Environment. That is a huge transition being a first year student and then to have all this going on as well. How do you deal with, tests and things? Is it the same thing as a competition?
I think this year's a little bit weird because of COVID. I was mostly online. I was online for first term, and then this term we just got back and whatever. For me, I did my last year of high school online because of COVID, so it was kind of a continuation of that
Mm.
in a lot of ways. balancing it all is always a struggle. It's never easy. I took 4 courses in the first term, which admittedly was a lot, a lot of courses to take while competing in my first Grand Prix series. So, just managing that, it's definitely, I learned a lot of lessons through that, but I was able to get through it. I managed my coursework, and I took the same kind of strategies I take into skating. I like to split things into little pieces and just really, break it up to make it manageable. And so that's kind of how I approached my first term and now my second term,
You learned some lessons. What did you mean by that?
making sure I'm on top of everything and time management and everything. I was traveling a lot in the fall, so making sure I had everything done and before I left was something I needed to learn. I missed a couple of due dates in my first couple months, as a lot of people do. I'd have assignments done and then forget to hand them in. Silly things like that. So I was learning the same lessons that every first year student learns. I was just perhaps learning them from halfway across the world sometimes.
And you're in Oakville. Are your family's home in
Yeah, I'm
Oakville?
in Oakville.
Your family must be so proud of you.
They are very proud. They're very excited. It was hard to keep in touch from so far away while I was away, but yeah, they were so
Oh,
happy. I think it was, a bright spot with everything going on for a lot of, my family and friends, just with COVID and everything. Foreign spectators were not allowed. So it was
mm,
really just athletes, coaches, staff who were there from Canada.
uh,
We didn't really have an audience. I would have loved to have my family there, but, it is what it is for this year.
it sounds like you have a very good supportive environment.
Yeah, for sure. My coaches are really great. I've been with them since I was little. Skating is kind of a unique sport in that we're not centralized in one place with one set of coaches. You kind of get to pick your own. So they contribute to, I think, my positive mindset and my ability to handle my nerves. Like, it's a really positive environment. And I think that has helped me get to this level.
So, describe for me what kind of support have you had and what difference has it made to you?
I just have this really big community support. I train in Milton, Ontario, which is about 20 minutes north of where I live.
Mhm.
So I have this really enthusiastic and supportive community behind me, and that just made such a difference. They're just so supportive and so excited to see me succeed that it just is really motivating, and it gives me a lot of pride to represent my club. And it's just, I think, such a nice departure from a lot of people where they leave their hometowns and their home clubs to go to bigger training centers. And I think it's nice that I've been able to stay where I am and just keep that community support behind me. My family is so supportive. My parents and then my extended family, they're all just so happy to see me succeed and have done so much to get me to where I am. So it wouldn't have been possible without my family.
How about the university?
The university's been great. My professors have been supportive. They've helped me manage everything. Everything being online obviously helped first term. And then this term, I've gotten a lot of support from my professors. I was exempted from tutorial in one of my classes, which I very much appreciated. It's hard to attend tutorial from China. So, I've had lots of support from the school, and, it's been great being able to be in school because I know that that's something that a lot of athletes struggle with.
Well, exactly. I was going to say, so you are a full-time student, undergrad, first year undergrad, and you have this major time commitment that is being a world-class skater. So, how many of your peers are in this a similar situation?
Some people are in school, some people aren't. It totally, I think, depends on the person and what they're able to manage. Like, it's not easy. So everyone has to make that decision for themselves and see what works for them. This was just, a natural continuation for me. I like being in school. I like having that outside sort of, again, that outside distraction, just something else to focus on. Coming out of high school, I just knew that I wanted to keep up my studies, keep working towards something outside of skating. And that was really important to me. And it's been, really helpful. I found having that sort of outside distraction, outside influence, outside of
Hmm.
skating, just in staying grounded and staying level headed.
Why did you pick planning?
I applied to a number of things. Like a lot of 18-year-olds, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do when I applied. I picked planning because I thought the co op was pretty interesting. And I thought that, the opportunity to kind of look at how cities grow and how cities develop was pretty cool. I'm enjoying the work I've done. And yeah, it was the co op. I thought the co op was pretty cool. You have that opportunity to gain work experience. So that was a big draw for me. I'm looking forward to maybe taking some science electives and trying those things out and just, broadening my interest a little bit. But I'm enjoying my first year in the planning program. I think it fits with a lot of my interests. It's multidisciplinary, which I've really enjoyed, like just looking at the way the different pieces fit together. And, I've also, unpopular opinion, but I've really enjoyed the stats based classes. And then I'm taking another, a stats class this term, which I'm enjoying. I think I still have, varied interests and I'm still figuring out exactly what I want to do. Like I play piano.
So you play piano too?
I
Lord.
play and teach piano. It's my part-time job.
You have a part-time job too?
I do have a part-time job. I teach piano.
Okay.
I did that through high school as my part-time job, and I just wanted to continue with it. It is fortunately a job. It's one of the few jobs I could continue doing remotely. I could do it over Zoom. So that was great, especially during COVID. I was coaching a little bit too. And then, obviously with COVID, with the shutdowns, that had to, that kind of evaporated. But I was able to keep teaching piano and I love working with the kids I work with. So I've just kind of kept that up.
We hear about Olympic athletes who have to work, like they have to have
Yeah.
another job. How important is it, do you think, for athletes to have financial support from outside?
I feel really grateful to be able to live at home. That, allows me to pay for skating and everything else. But a lot of people do not have that privilege. A lot of people have to relocate to train. A lot of people do not have the ability to stay at home while they train. It's just, a fact. And for those people, I know it can be really hard to make ends meet. I think that, was really grateful this year to have received a scholarship from the Faculty of Environment, like an entrance scholarship from the faculty. But
Congratulations.
thank you. But for sure, it's difficult for a lot of athletes, and we hear a lot about it in the news. Having those funds available from schools and outside sources is really helpful. I received the Donovan Bailey scholarship from my community last year.
Wow.
So, I mean, as athletes, we're all looking for, opportunities to help, fund our dreams, fund our ambitions. I think people forget that, amateur athletes are just in a very different boat than, the professional counterparts in the NBA and the NHL. It's just a totally different system. It's definitely tough, especially if you're in, a sport that doesn't necessarily receive a lot of funding or a lot of sponsorship opportunities and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. I obviously know about athletes who have to work jobs to help pay their rent and everything, and that's, it definitely would take away from their ability to train.
Is there anything about your skating career that influences your studies?
Competing in high level sports has given me the tools to be successful in anything. I think it's taught, the sort of life skills that have let me, really succeed in university this year.
Like what?
Just the time management skills, the organizational skills. I think that sports at any level really help to teach those things. And being involved in sports has, really had a big impact on my life and has helped to make me into the responsible person I am, who's been able to manage university, I would say, pretty well. And I accredit a lot of that to the life skills I've learned through sport.
Are there any lessons that you've taken away from your Olympic experience that you can now apply to future competitions or even life events?
Yeah, there's definitely things I've learned. I learned at Olympics. Some of them are really sports specific. They're things that I'm going to apply to future events and to future Olympics. One thing that I found hard was just managing the amount of time I was there. I was there for over 3 weeks. So I think, should I qualify again? There's this different decisions I would make to kind of help me keep my energy up between the team event and the individual event.
Mhm.
That was something I found pretty challenging, especially since normally you would leave at a regular Olympics, but because of COVID, you couldn't leave and come back at all. That was one thing that I learned, and that's really sport specific and situation specific. But even just, managing the excitement of being at a big event like that, and I think that'll help me at other competitions. It tests your ability to kind of really focus on the task at hand, being at Olympics because there's so much going on. And I think that was a skill that I can use in life.
Mhm.
Just the ability to focus. It was a test of focus for sure. So that's something that I'll be able to kind of reflect on and use not just in sport, but in school and in life.
What about technical things that you take away from, your jumps or your spins. And people don't realize too that you're left-handed. So you enter the jumps coming from a different direction. Is that right?
I'm actually not left-handed.
Oh,
I'm right-handed.
so I read you were left-handed.
You jump reverse, but it's got nothing to do with your dominant hand. That's a fun fact for sure. The way you turn has nothing to do with your dominant hand. It's just like kind of personal preference thing.
Oh,
Yeah, I do jump the other way. It makes it kind of tricky on warm up because you'll be the only one going the other direction from everybody else. But I mean, there's always technical things to take away from your performances. There's always things to improve on, especially from my individual event performances. Which were not as good as I would have liked. I took away a lot of lessons. My coach and I made a tactical error in the short program. I should have, done a different jump than I did when the one I was going to do wasn't really working for me. So that was just a lesson in, making the right tactical decisions and being strategic.
what about quads? Now women are doing quads. Do you feel any pressure to do that?
Yes and no. I'm going to work on the triple axel. Actually, that's
Mhm.
probably going to make that's the jump that makes the biggest impact on your score.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Yeah, because you can use it in the short program. So it's like a 9, like it makes a really big difference to your points in a lot of ways. The most effective way to improve your scores is to use a triple axel in the short program.
Oh,
So that's what I'm going to work on in the spring. But there's always, risk reward. If you're not going to land those harder jumps, it's not rarely worth it to try them.
yeah.
I'm going to work on that. It's obviously something I'd love to do. I'd love to be the first Canadian woman to do a triple axel or to do a quad. We're going to see where I get with that in the spring.
For people who don't know, can you describe what a triple axel looks like?
It's a forward takeoff, and then it's 3.5 revolutions in the air, and then you land backwards. So it's the only jump that takes off forwards, and some people find that's a reason some people find it really, really difficult.
What's going through your mind when you're doing that? Anything? Is anything going through
Nothing really. You're just kind of relying on your technique and your muscle memory.
Because when I was watching you, I'll tell you, I held my breath. I do that all the time because I'm so worried somebody's going to get hurt.
I think everyone holds their breath. I'm sure
Including
my
you.
mom was. I'm sure my mom was. My mom, my coaches,
Wow.
my team leaders, they were all, I'm sure, holding their breath in those moments. But
And then they cheered. Well, next stop, the World Figure Skating Championships.
I mean, it's such a short turnaround from Olympics.
Yeah.
I've already gotten back on the ice trying to get ready for that. It's about just maintaining my fitness and maintaining where I'm at right now. I'm hoping for a top 10 finish there. I was 13th last year, so I'd like to improve on that a little bit. And I'd like to get Canada a second spot back at the World Championships. Right now, we're at one spot. For me, it's just about keeping that consistency with my training. And I know that at this point in the season, that's going to be enough.
Wow. We are so excited for you and we are so proud of you. Thank you so much, Maddie. We're cheering you on. I hope you do well. I hope you feel great about your performance, and whatever happens, we're just thrilled for you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode from the Beyond the Bulletin podcast from the University of Waterloo. To listen to all of episode 119, or indeed any others, look for Beyond the Bulletin podcast on SoundCloud.com. Please join Brandon Sweet and me for new episodes on Fridays. And don't forget to tell your Waterloo colleagues and friends about us. Until next time, thanks for going Beyond the Bulletin.